The stage is dimly lit, suggesting the quiet before a dance. Above, a backdrop of obscure set pieces that simulates a night sky. The other man stands center stage, a spotlight casting his shadow long and thin behind him, unsettling. His voice is deep, trialing off into the corners of the quiet theater.
In this mouth, where my stories unfold, I am compelled to fill the silence with spit, a wetness that echoes within me, here in both sides of my chest, where I feel the pulse of blood. Each thing above us and below our feet, a marker of where we might stand next, even if it's to stand still.
He touches his chest gently, an emotional gesture. He then takes a moment, his gaze fixed on the small lights above.
Do we understand the burden of endless images? Imagine the architect of worlds who must face their work without flinching. I can't blink. To look a child in the face, always. Here I stand, confronting those after me. But what makes such endless scrutiny? The crude and grit. Children are always children. They just are faced with burning questions, and it causes them to be at an unrest.
Turning slightly, he addresses the audience directly, his tone a mixture of power and introspection.
It's a curious lie, isn't it? Commanding the hands, yet envying the demeanor of a human, simple, unencumbered. You think you know someone, but the truth often leaves us empty-handed. Even a deity might ponder the unknown. We wash our hand periodically in order to feel clean. We move them and they get dirty again.
A spotlight mimics a falling star across the backdrop, bringing a glimpse of change to those viewing.
Designing takes practice. It demands more than mere force. I shape destinies with a laugh, yet sometimes they resist, cold and distant. Have I not warned them of the abyss that looks back? A challenge to any creator to comprehend their own work. How does one instruct a light not to outshine the shadows, or tell progress to pause its march?
He walks slowly across the stage, his steps soft but resonant, fading slightly as he moves toward the wings.
I am the spectator of this lie, my order and chaos with the same gesture. This dominion, it may never be a truth, since I will never experience the first touch of uncertainty.
As his voice trails off, the lights dim gradually, and he mutters to himself like he's practicing lines.
And when I speak, weaving solitudes into the fabric of the void, shaping whispers that even I cannot transcend, I am me.
As the other man fades into the shadows, the spotlight shifts to reveal Tommy, sitting on a simple wooden chair downstage. It creaks under his weight, but does not look warm. He's dressed plainly, a stark contrast to the boldness implied by the other man. The backdrop dims to a harsh glow, mimicking a body of water in a twilight. His voice is calm, filled with a quiet confidence.
Here in this humble spot, I find a different kind of vastness. Not of stars or galaxies, but the expanse of a single, sterile moment. Here, in the simplicity of breathing, of watching the slow dance of dust in the light, here I find my mast.
He pauses, looking around as if seeing the small details of the theatre for the first time.
How strange it must be to wield the power to create yet never touch the true essence of creation. The hours, how they cluster around us and cling to us. I cherish these hours, these minutes, the seconds. They are not markers of eternity, but of moments that I live fully.
Tommy stands, striding towards the edge of the stage, engaging directly with the audience with a flat stare.
I paid a lot of money for that story. I can hear it as much as I want. In this scheme which we have, I hear a lie against the horizon. I listen too much, but I can't help but want to. In this whisper there is life, bursting, blooming, cascading. They knew the game, the facade, yet here I am, no facades, just flesh and bone, feeling every grain of experience as it passes.
A fog machine simulates a sunset, casting a warm glow over the light on Tommy. And after he says, they, he points to the audience.
To design lies might seem a complicated game. How cold it must feel to see others as mere pieces moved across a board. My shadow stared into the abyss, but I choose to stare into the murky waters, into the faces around me. How do you teach a hand not to feel, or ask a fish to not yearn for bait?
He sits back down, the light now a soft candle-like glow.
I am no director. I do not command the tides or script the seasons. In this smallness, I possess a freedom, the liberty to wonder, to doubt, to boast. I am bound not by chains, but by oneness to the intimate.
Tommy looks up, a reflective pause, then softly speaks.
And so I live, crafting stories not of solitude, but of shared moments, shaping my lies where every thread is heavy with the touch of what's tangible.
Half of the stage is enveloped in warm orange light where Tommy sits, lost in thought. The other half is cloaked in shadows, where the other man stands, his figure slightly bent as if shouldering an invisible weight. Looking out, his voice tinged with contemplation.
You know, you got a mouth like a cannon, always shooting off. And it's odd, isn't it? Our need emasculate our gains, rarely aligned. So what unanticipated needs might you harbour? Are you a ship or the sailor? Is it a pause you seek? How have you managed to live for so long with a mouth like that? A respite from your ceaseless overseeing. I often muse upon the stars, not as your handiwork, but as entities with their own epochs. Do they weary of their constant brilliance? I am the fish beneath both the ship and the sailor.
Stars do not grow weary. They illuminate because that is their nature. It is not about exhaustion, never. It is about continuous burning. If you forget to burn, you forget to breathe. I know what it means to be a fish, a ship, and a sailor.
But to exist without end, does that not overburden? I hold to my chest the interlude, the hush that follows the tone. There's a mess not only in the notes played, but in the quiet that ensues. We valued the small increments of life. Don't you crave a more peaceful spell, a halt to your burdens? Can you worry about the fish if you're the ship? Can the sailor care for the ship if he spends all of his time using it?
A pause, then a weak but resolute response. His figure subtly shifting as though touched by the question, like nature of his command.
Silence is a boon of mortality. My function is a perpetual chorus, an unending chore. Your intervals of quiet, they are as foreign to me as your hands are still. You guide the ship and the fish, but yet you tell me you're not a sailor. You wish to be free in the sea that would consume you. You are no fish, and you will never be, and there is beauty in that. I urge you.
His voice deepens. A seriousness is projected to the audience.
That's the joke in this, isn't it? Our laughs aren't merely in our ribs, but in our treasured skin. You fabricate, I relish. You are compelled to forge things, and I cherish the interactions, the narratives, and the brief existence of what's to come next. I don't want to be anything, I just am stuck with making metaphors between the sea and sky. And yes, sometimes I am the fish if I try hard enough. Lies are not beside the point, they are the point. Could this be our purpose on this stage? To assimilate from each other's hands, to understand that no perspective is all ending? Let's stop talking about the fish. I don't want to be a fish, but I do want to be you on occasions. Are your hands bigger than mine?
Tommy rises, taking steps toward the boundary of light and shadow, approaching the other man. The other man's tone becomes more robust, revitalized by Tommy's musings.
Perfection is the enemy of the perfectly adequate. Perhaps this exchange is intended not for resolution, to impose the unending lies with the brief, the enduring with the momentary lapses of judgment. I cannot give you what you seek, but don't live in confusion because you have everything you need as the way you are, like I have urged you.
The lights dramatically dim into shades of blue and purple, hinting at an approaching conclusion, yet leaving space for continuation. Speaking, more to himself than to the other man. Tommy's stature looks like a young Paul Newman dressed as Matlock.
Then, let's persist in our discourse, persist in our inquiries, aiming to perceive beyond what lies immediately before us. Lies have color too.
At one end, Tommy stands, facing the audience but slightly turned away, a real cigarette in hand. At the opposite end, the other man is turned towards the backdrop, occasionally coughing, his gaze occasionally beaming over his shoulder. The other man, speaking with a dry tone, almost as if narrating about someone else, lets his voice carry.
He often wonders if the stars get tired, if they ever pause for a relief. It's a curious thing to be free to move anywhere yet locked on course, to be everything and everywhere and still represented in a straight line. He holds creation within, yet stands apart, always the observer, never truly a participant in the horizon. Floating above, watching sailors move with the wind, not against it.
Coughs lightly, still not facing Tommy directly.
This entity, this cluster of flight, what might you call him? Could a name ever encompass all that he is?
Taking a long drag from his cigarette, exhaling slowly as he contemplates. The stage is quiet, except for Tommy's prominent breaths in and out. He seemingly forgets to listen to what is happening, and speaks as if he is picking up where he left off.
Maybe I've been trying to find the right spouse to love for things that are too big to name. But you, I think I know what to call you.
Tommy turns slightly towards the other end of the stage, his voice growing more assured in its boldness.
Are you not also a gentle giant, trying to connect to the very world you've spun into motion?
Now turning to face Tommy, a faint smile, crossing his features.
In a way, perhaps that is all I ever was. Regardless of what you want to call me, a gas among stars, soft in his solitude, a solitude that brings peace to others and me.
Tommy's final words carry a mix of stuttering pronunciation and feign in his volume as he stomps out his cigarette softly with his boot, the smoke curling up and fading into the dim light.
To you, what does it truly mean? To be alone in a world not made for veils. These are demonstrative foresights. The stage goes completely dark, even the lights at the wings of the stage, leaving the question hanging behind the figures on stage. The audience does not have any lights turned on for their exit. They are to have the theatre doors open. This lets light spill into the crowd, signaling for them to find their way out. Dust just hangs in the air of the old theatre. Nothing special happened here.